I'm Michael, also known as Papa.
Hi, I'm Luis, also known as Poppy.
And together we make Papilla Adventures. Welcome, seasoned hikers and people who love nature.
Over the past few months, we've been nurturing our relationship that has truly blossomed, and much of it is thanks to our shared love for hiking, being outdoors, exploring, being active.
The tremendous beauty of being in the mountains and amongst the forest and just in the wilderness in general feeds our individual and coupled sense of wonder. So thank you for helping us to embrace our vulnerabilities by allowing us to share our adventures in this video with you.
Our hikes bring us immense joy, and we get to see awe-inspiring beauty, and we feel a deep sense of reward. And I feel most connected to a non-religious God way up high in the mountains.
So we're also big geeks, so we will share details of things that we discover about the places that we visit and things we explore on the trail.
The animals we encounter.
We're on the unpaved part of the road to the Mount Ellinor trailhead. This part of the road is about 7 miles once the pavement ends on Forest Road 24. This gravel road leads to the upper or the lower trailhead. And this road is passable for most vehicles, but it can be a bit bumpy with lots of potholes and spots, so take it slow. This is a map of the Mount Ellinor Trail. We chose to stop at the lower trailhead because we wanted a longer hike and we also wanted to enjoy the forest. But you can also drive to the upper trailhead and start from there and enjoy a shorter hike. We're mostly walking among towering Douglas firs and western red cedars. These towering Douglas firs can get a couple 100 feet tall, and the forest creates this aromatic, piney, earthy smell. Sometimes the aromas come in small waves when you're hiking through the dense part of the forest. As we get higher on this trail, we'll start seeing Pacific silver firs and another one of my favorite trees, the western hemlocks.
When choosing a hike the night before, we take a lot of things into consideration. We looked at the reviews on all trails, we zoomed in on the map, we read other sources, and we decided that the car that we drive matches the road leading up to the trailhead. Another reason is that it provides the level of challenge that we look for. We look for a good distance hike. Anywhere between 8 and 14 miles seems to be our average. We like bouldering, and we ask ourselves, is this going to be worth the drive? Are there views? Are there lakes we can jump in? Are there rivers? And this trail has magnificent 360 views. The weather aligned. It was a partly cloudy day, and it was in the mid-70s with a great chance for sunshine. And then lastly, we had a chance of goat sightings based on the reviews. We didn't see any goats, but that was a motivator in choosing Mount Ellinor. Mountains are more than just a beautiful backdrop. They are alive and constantly changing. One of the most fascinating processes is the rock slide, a natural event that's part of the mountain's ever-evolving landscape. Over time, rain, wind, and the gradual movement of the earth can cause rocks to loosen and make their way down the mountain. It's a natural process that helps reshape the terrain and nourish the environment below. These rock slides range from gentle movements of small rocks to larger shifts of boulders. Each slide plays a role in carving out valleys, creating fresh soil for plants, and even forming new habitats for wildlife. When hiking in the mountains, it is not uncommon to see a few small rocks moving. It's a reminder that the mountains are alive and always changing, shaping themselves with the forces of nature. Learning about rock slides is a wonderful way to appreciate the dynamic nature of the earth. It's just another chapter in the story of how our mountains were formed and how they continue to grow. So the next time you're out exploring, remember, rock slides are not just a natural event, but a beautiful part of nature's ongoing journey.
Being our geeky selves, we wanted to explore the origin of the name of Mount Ellinor. And I found an article written by Edmond Meany titled The Story of Three Olympic Peaks that was published in a journal called the Pacific Coast Pilot in 1913. The article opens with this short paragraph. The countless thousands who, from year to year, admire the three prominent peaks at the southeastern end of the Olympic range would find themselves gazing at the wonderfully beautiful picture with even keener rapture if they but knew a part of the history interlocked with the names these peaks bear: Ellinor, the brothers, and Constance. There are probably no other geographical features in the Pacific Northwest whose names involve a richer history. A beautiful and tender modesty screamed the identity of the personalities behind those names. Eleanor Fauntleroy, for whom this mountain is named, was the daughter of early settlers in the Pacific Northwest, and her husband, George Davidson, was a noted geographer, surveyor, and scientist. He worked with the U.S. Coast Survey and had a big part in mapping and exploring the Pacific coast, including the Olympic Peninsula. During his explorations in 1856, he named Mount Ellinor in honor of his then fiancée, Eleanor Fauntleroy, to show his admiration for her, impress his future father-in-law, and to show his deep connection and love for the region that he was exploring. Davidson, this is interesting, Davidson also named the other nearby peaks, including Mount Constance after Eleanor's sister, and the brothers after two brothers in Eleanor's family. In the article, Meany shares a quote from an interview that he did with Eleanor's daughter, who described her in this way: "My mother was always more or less of an invalid, but had the spirit and spiritual insight for a poet, a finely tuned mind, impartial in an abstract sort of way and leaning to the metaphysical. Her knowledge of life and the world made her inclusive rather than exclusive, a universalist in religion and deed. I like to think of her as always smiling, gracious, gentle in her judgments, and holding herself in firm control, radiating the finer things we look up to and take inspiration from." It was really cool to learn about Eleanor and who she was and what kind of person she was and where the name came from. And we also want to acknowledge the original inhabitants of the land and the potential loss of native names and traditions due to the common practice at the time in history with the naming of natural sites. So this mountain and the greater area had a long history before Eleanor's family and Davidson arrived. Mount Ellinor is located within the ancestral lands of the Skokomish and other Coast Salish tribes who have lived in the Olympic Peninsula for thousands of years. The Native American name for Mount Ellinor is not clear. If anybody knows that, or have some idea about what that might be, please comment and share. If you like history and like to geek out on this kind of stuff, we will add the links to the article below and the other site where we got information. So please also add your comments. Would love to know more about the history of this area. The details on some of the history are not well documented, so any corrections or more information are welcome. Please share. It's chilly, but it's beautiful and sunny right now. We've been here about an hour, and now we're getting a mix of rain and sleet.
On the way down, we had epic views of Lake Cushman and the Hood Canal.
In this picture on the right, you can see beautiful Lake Cushman, and on the left is the Hood Canal. So Lake Cushman was originally a natural lake, but it was much smaller. It was greatly expanded in 1926 when the Cushman Dam was built to create hydroelectric power for the city of Tacoma. And it continues to provide electric power for us and our house in Tacoma and many other people in Tacoma today. This lake is also in the ancestral lands of the Skokomish tribe. After its expansion, it's now a little over 4,000 acres, and it's about 8 miles long. And at its maximum depth, it's only, surprisingly, 115 feet. The water source for Lake Cushman comes primarily from the North Fork Skokomish River, which originates in the Olympic Mountains. This river continues downstream from the lake through the Cushman Dam and into the Hood Canal. So a little bit about the Hood Canal. The indigenous name of the Hood Canal is Ha-da-lu-wee, and that's the name given to it by the Skokomish tribe. So I'm certain I may have gotten the pronunciation of that wrong, so please correct me in the comments. Interesting thing about the Hood Canal is it's not actually a canal. It's a long, narrow fjord that is part of the greater, that makes up the greater Puget Sound. It's about 70 miles long, and at its deepest point, it's about 500 feet. When we are exploring an adventure, a trail, a hike, I like to see if the mountain has made the news or what interesting things others are saying. We call this segment the Mountain Buzz in our videos. So some interesting news from Mount Ellinor. In December 2023, Mount Ellinor made the national news when a hiker fell more than 1,200 feet in an avalanche chute. The story has a good ending. He was rescued the same evening and survived with a broken arm, symptoms of hypothermia, and some serious abrasions. If you want to learn more about this, we'll also put a link to this story below.
I just want to let you know that you and I have done the most miles together. This is the most I've ever hiked in my life. It is 3:02, and oh my gosh, it's the best feeling. Making it back to the car.
Thanks for watching our video about Mount Ellinor. We wanted to take a moment now and provide a summary about our experience.
So it was a length of 7 miles, 3,400 feet elevation gain, and it took us around 5 hours to complete.
That surprised me that we were only there for 5 hours. We tend to hang out on the trails for a while.
We tend to dilly-dally
and explore. And we often walk longer than what is recorded, because if there's spurs, we usually check them out. If there are lakes.
I like that about you, that you're open to exploring past the destination.
Thank you. And I like that. When we reach the summit, we usually hang out. And that's where we usually eat our lunch and take our time to enjoy the views.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
This time was interesting, so we might have left the summit a little bit quicker than we thought. We were still there for an hour, but when it started to rain and sleet and snow,
we got uncomfortable.
Let's head out.
Because it may be cold and it's fine when you're moving, but when you're not moving, it's very uncomfortable. That's the secret. Just keep moving.
What were other things that you liked about? What were some of your favorites?
Mount Ellinor, I liked the forest at the beginning. It was a nice challenge, but the trees were gorgeous. We saw a lot of fungi, mushrooms. Those mushrooms look like aliens from a different planet, with beautiful colors of purples and reds. And it's gorgeous. I loved the rock slides. Those were stunning, beautiful rocks. And the views at the top were godly. Like, we were in the clouds, and the clouds were just dancing in and out of the mountains.
You were talking about the forest, and we were, in the morning, it was foggy and really dense and thick.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool, eerie feeling in the morning. And we both talked about it was just eerily quiet, like just about the entire hike up the forest part.
Yeah. It was one of the most silent hikes I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
But it was more than just a peaceful silence. It had something like a nefarious sense to it, like the woods were up to something suspicious.
In a fun, cool way. You definitely knew they were alive, even though it was quiet. So it was cool. And that it was partly cloudy the day we went. So we had a lot of sunshine and a lot of clouds, and that really added to our experience.
The sleet at the top caught me off guard. I was not expecting sleet. But that goes to show you should be prepared for any kind of weather. You go from needing pants one moment to needing shorts really quickly.
And on this trail, that's a reminder to bring water, because there are not a lot of streams on this trail where you could get and use a filter to get water. So bring water, and there are areas where you get a lot of sun in the sun.
Water and electrolytes. Sodium, potassium, whether it's in the form of food like salty almonds and bananas, or in electrolyte tablets. We just got some today.
This is the first video that we've made that we're sharing on YouTube. So thank you for watching. If there are things that you like, please comment. If there are other things you want to see, or think it would be interesting for us to explore on the trails or about the trails, let us know.
This is fun for us. We're getting to know each other intellectually in that level, and we've encountered challenges, but we overcome them, and we're learning technologies, video editing. We got our first iMac to be able to handle all this video editing processing power necessary, and we got a tripod today. That's what we're using right now. And it comes with a little USB controller, and that's exciting. And the sun is shining, and it's a beautiful day. It's like 66 degrees, So we're going to play some frisbee and enjoy the sunshine because it's getting to be the season where sunshine is scarce.
Thanks
Bye.
again.
Thank you. Does it work?